Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Press Enterprise High School Football Video Podcast. I am Press Enterprise Sports Editor Tim Hare, and as always, I am joined by writer Adam Roberts. Adam, welcome back.
I gotta tell you, it's been a year. I miss this. I'm a year younger and a year better looking. I don't know about you, but
Well, I can see myself on my phone on our ghetto tripod setup. I think I'm unchanged.
yeah, I see myself when I take selfies every day in Snapchat, and man, I'm like a seasoned, fine distilled spirit.
Well, let's talk some football.
Oh my God, I've waited a whole year for football, also, not just the podcast.
And a week too long to have to wait because we didn't have the mic last.
Technical difficulties.
Technical
difficulties. So, what did we think here after the first week? We got some good looks at stuff as far as Southern Columbia, Mount Carmel, Berwick, and Danville picking up wins. Also, Central Columbia. We had Northwest, Bloom, and Votech all leave and go home with losses that night or over the past weekend. What's your takeaway from maybe some of the winners? Southern.
I feel like
Mount
Southern,
Carmel.
Mount Carmel, and Central, to quote Denny Green, they are who we thought they are. Southern drops 50,
Yeah.
like they always do. Julian Fleming, I mean,
Didn't leave any off the hook. Yeah, he
three
caught them all.
touchdowns.
Yeah.
The offense looks as good as advertised. The defense, I think, is improved from last year, particularly the front eight. I think they have some nice speed on the outside with Tillett and Zachman.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice, though, when you look at returning all-state guys on defense as well. You have Cal coming back.
Right.
And
Andy Bell.
Yeah, and Andy Bell on the line. Those are two solid guys. Obviously, you don't get all-state for nothing. You know what I mean? Those were well-deserved and well-earned. And then, offensively, you have Julian Fleming and Gage back. Huge part of the offense last year.
It's funny that Gage Garcia can run for 146 yards on 10 carries, and it's like it feels like an afterthought.
Yeah, he probably no one gauged, and he probably went for a run after that game. He still probably got dropped off at the bottom of Mystic Mountain and still trotted up it. But I guess it's all in a day's work, and you never know who you're going to be relying on in those games. You never know who's going to get the football. Who's just speaking with Stone Hollenbach earlier tonight, he's added speed to his arsenal, not just a talented passer. He can also run the football.
And that's such a weapon in that wing tee. When you have a quarterback who can run, you think about like when they had Dan Latour,
Yeah.
and just how much more dangerous that makes. It sets up the runs to the perimeter.
Speed kills.
inside.
I mean, speed kills.
Yeah, I mean in any system.
There's no substitute for speed and strength. And for the longest time, Southern's always had the strength. They've had the big boys, big tough runners. But adding the speed, I mean, you look at Stone runs a 4.7. Gage, well, he took 0.3 of a second off from. He ran a 5 second last year. Gage running 4.6s, and Julian with 4.56. I mean, that sounds like a track team to me.
Yeah. I think to the casual fan, you hear that someone dropped 0.3 of a second off a 40 time, and they just kind of like,
Yeah.
That is not easy to do. I mean, to get that much faster is, that just, I think, speaks to the work he put in the offseason.
Yeah, he said he's been working for 4 years, trying, with different trainers, trying to get faster. And he said this offseason, it really clicked. I don't know if it's, he said maybe age and maturity, but I'm curious to see, obviously what he can do as a passer, but as a runner and how that's going to open doors for Southern's offense moving forward. What did you think about Mount Carmel, though?
Now,
I mean, they had a good win.
a very good win, because that's a very good Loyal Sock team that they beat. Mount Carmel, I picked them in the predictions last week. I was on the fence, but I thought, that line, not only are all 5 guys back, but I mean, they're good and big up front. You move Ayers to running back. I just thought that gave, a little more versatility to the offense. And, I mean, they dropped 43 on Loyal Sock.
Yeah, Dara's doing the right things over there at Mount Carmel. You kind of saw it 3 years ago in the very beginning stages with Karicki and the things that they were doing with that new offense and the offensive scheme that they run. I'm not sure the players even know what to call it, the shotgun wing variation.
Yeah.
But they're moving along the right track, and beating a team like Loyal Sock this year and last year, I mean, that's also shaping up to be like a Friday night light classic. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
those are both back and forth matches, everybody scoring. I think it's also a good tempo setter for the rest of the season going forward for Mount Carmel, knowing that you can put up points. I mean, it shows. I think it says a lot about a team to be able to do the right things early on. Having to clean up the minor things, maybe like a penalty here and there, I feel like is a lot easier than, your offense just not coming out. And speaking of, we had some teams who, offenses, Danville, and they only put up 14 points.
And we talked about this week, about you look at that matchup, the Danville-Bloom matchup, and it would seem to very heavily favor Danville because they are big up front. Bloom is very undersized along the line, and all Bloom's linemen also play on defense. You would think that would heavily favor Danville, and yet 2 years in a row now, Bloom has been in a tight game with a very good Danville team in the fourth quarter.
But I'd like to think, though, that that's probably why you don't get too caught up in the Madden ratings, because at the end of the day, these kids are still going to go out and play the game.
What's your Madden rating?
My Madden rating, you see, it's all about IQ. So if you have good football IQ, even when it comes to 2K basketball, you can compensate for lacking skill set. Vertical. I might be a crisp 12, 16-inch vertical, But, getting back to it, though, Danville, having all those linemen returning, you have Darian Yeager, who ran a 4.99 and bench press.
Best bench at the District 4 combine.
Yeah, could bench press the house, 35 times at 185. And then all the other linemen who were smart, fast. I don't think a guy ran faster than a 5.1. That says a lot about their line, but to only put up, 2 touchdowns on Bloomsburg?
2 passing touchdowns.
2 passing touchdowns in a team that is a run-heavy offense. I don't know what to make of that.
I think, it's week 1. You can kind of write it off as an anomaly. Week 2, if it happens, now it's a trend.
Well, what does that say more about?
I think
Bloomsburg, underrating Bloomsburg and or overrating maybe Danville a little bit.
I think it says more about underrating Bloom's defense because they clearly love playing for Kevin Seabrook. And they had talent back on defense. You move Faust to corner. You have Mitch Reed, who's been the leading tackler. Those guys on the defensive line, not big, but, kids like Evan Bond, they get the job done. And they went out and got it done because most of the time, if you give up 14 points to a team like Danville, you're walking away with a win.
Yeah, I one of the things I've heard about Bloomsburg is how much they're buying into Seabrook. And that's another offense that I'm not sure they know what to call it. A little bit of a wing and a little bit of a pistol. But I think, having worked under Kaiser, which Seabrook did in his coaching staff, transitioning and translating some of those values into Bloomsburg's football program that had seemingly lacked that for so long, I think is going to really help turn the corner for them for, moving forward despite starting off 0-1.
Now, let me ask you, because you saw Berwick last week. You made
dogs!
You made the trip to my hometown.
Yeah.
Walk through the metal detectors at Harmon Guy Stadium.
They see me, they see a friendly face, and, the buzzers don't go off too much.
Right.
They may look past the change in the pocket.
You got the friendly face pass.
Yeah, me, when you walk in there, you have cords hanging out every pocket. You got the wallet. Mine's a little thinner, as a college student than most, and then loose change. It's a nightmare. But with Berwick, I'm kind of impressed at how good their defense is. Losing those people, losing as many guys as they did, and just being able to play such good team defense.
That might be a product of you have a defensive guy as your head coach, former linebacker,
Yeah, my dad was actually just talking about him earlier this week and saying that I should have seen how good Frank was up at Bloomsburg University. And yeah, I think you're right. I think, those values is being a tough defensive player, just hard-nosed, always, being able to always close on the football, regardless if you're a defensive back, a linebacker, just, being able to move to the ball. They're fast.
They have a lot of athleticism.
Offensively, I'm not sure. Force did the right things and didn't do anything wrong. You know what I mean? He
And Burbick will take that. This is a kid who's kind of thrown in there a little bit.
Sure. Yeah, and it's not a knock against him. Yeah, he realized that he was going to be the starting quarterback, just a couple of weeks before the football season started?
Yeah, it was a three-man race to kind of see who would fill in.
I was probably in Florida at that time, on the beach somewhere, and like Jay Cutler, hanging out in the booth, and you get a call and say, hey, you're the guy, come on.
Right.
So, he got thrust in there. He threw his first varsity passing touchdown. He rushed for one last season. So, having found the end zone early on, he even said it helps establish some confidence that, it's not like you have to get over the hump in week 2 and find the end zone. He did that. I'm interested to see how much more passing plays, how much more that gets opened up. Obviously, Burbick's going to run the football, and they did that. They did that pretty well. I want to see what they're going to do offensively with the quarterback spot, and it's going to be interesting. Going to circle that week 6, week 7, week 8. Not sure what it's going to be yet when
Marshman.
If Marshman can come back and where they're going to plug him at, because you got to figure, say Burbick's at 5-1, 6-0, whatever, or whatever the week is, and they're rolling. It's going to be hard to replace Force there.
It is, but I wonder, if you go with Marshman at that point and find another spot on the field for Force.
Sure. I mean, kind of like, not like it, but the Broncos situation where Osweiler was doing his thing, and then Peyton was ready to go and said, all right,
It reminds me more of Mike Force, how he was kind of an athlete who played some quarterback, and 2 years ago when Marshman got the starting job, and now you move Mike Force to wide receiver, you put him in the backfield. He was just a great athlete that you make defenses contend with. I wonder if Burrow could do something similar with Alex Force.
Hey, we'll find out this Friday. Dumb dogs. More in the future, but we'll see what they do here this Friday against Dallas. Tough matchup.
Yeah.
But speaking of games that, we were at, you were at Central, #Bird Gang. What were the Blue Jays up to? They were flying around.
Yeah, because I was going to say, because we're getting to the end point here, I was going to wrap up by saying about Central that Trey Devlin, very impressive at quarterback. I want to say off the top of my head, I don't have to off the top of my head. He was 7 of 12. The one interception, I think he'd admit, maybe not the best throw. I kind of got the sense as soon as it left his hand, he regretted throwing it because you saw the defender break. I think you're going to have that with a kid making his first start. What you're not always going to have is a kid throwing for 174 yards, 2 touchdowns, and I was really impressed with how he runs. He's very elusive. He has a good internal clock. He can feel the pressure, and he knows when to trust his feet.
Yeah, everything that I got out of him, it was that he throws best on the run, that he sees the passing lanes better. I don't know if that's a product of being a smaller guy and having to sit behind the line and see, not really guessing how fast the linebackers can drop on a ball. Because I heard there's one that should have got picked off that wasn't.
The first play they did, they rolled him to his left. A nice little 20-yard pass to tight end Jared Verse. And I'd asked Devlin after the game. I was like, "Oh, well, did you think they had you throw the ball just to maybe work through any nerves?" And he's like, "No, we saw something on film and they wanted to roll me out, and we thought we had something there."
He's a pretty relaxed guy. I mean, he's not going to sound like he was rattled even if he was on his first start, but. Everybody said that look out for this Trey Devlin guy, and I think he started out on the right foot in getting Central to kind of put themselves in position to make the playoffs this year.
I agree. I think they go. I think they go to districts.
So what's the plan here for this Friday night? What are you eyeing up at the concession stand?
Oh, I don't even know if I'm at Central again. I'm not even making it to the concession stand because we have the tailgate here. Keith Halp making some porchetta.
Porchetta.
Gotta love it.
We have the meats.
I think that's going to do it for this week's podcast. But if you liked what you heard, and how couldn't you have, please check us out at pressenterpriseonline.com. We just got the playbook for this week done with a cover story on Southern quarterback Stone Hollenbach, written by Adam Roberts.
Yours truly.
Please check that out. And we also have tweets from the games that stream on the site, all our coverage, stats. It's all there. We got you covered.
Live.
So I think that's going to do it, but we're going to be back next week. Who knows? Maybe we'll be better looking.
Always.
It's possible. Chances are I'll probably be wearing this shirt again. But for Adam Roberts, I am Press Enterprise Sports Editor Tim Hare, and we will see you next week.